Awesome. Looks like we've got everyone here. Yeah, good afternoon to everyone in Australia. And yeah, to our guests overseas in the US and Canada, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here today. This will be our fourth St. Jacobs webinar for Australia. Yeah, they've certainly been a great success in the past, and we're really excited with something new that we've tried bringing on a panel of breeders. Certainly great to have them there, and obviously when we set this up, we didn't account for daylight saving turning off in Australia and turning on in the Northern Hemisphere, so certainly for Ed and Tony, I think it's 10 in the evening for you guys, and it'll be probably a late finish, but we really do appreciate your time. So, Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to our chat here tonight. I think we've got, well, I know we have three really influential people with us that have supplied a lot of the great genetics here at St. Jacobs, and it'll be great to get, basically to talk with them, visit with them a little bit about their strategies, but also get some questions from our listeners.
Yeah, that's for sure, and certainly for anyone that's tuned in, there's depending on your platform, you can put comments in as we go, reach out, and we'll endeavour to answer your questions throughout the course of the webinar. So let's take it away. What do we got here, Brian? Pictures of you and I. This will probably be the slide that we'll spend the least amount of time on all day. I don't know what I was thinking about in the middle picture there. I was probably watching you judge the Guernseys at International Dairy Week and thinking, no, Brian, no, not like that. But that's certainly great.
And that's probably right, Bill. You were like, what in the world is he thinking?
Yeah.
And until we got to the champion cow, then I think everybody in the world had to agree.
Yep, everyone was on the same page then, so
yeah,
awesome.
So with us tonight, we've got three outstanding breeders and businessmen that have supplied St. Jacobs with a lot of our genetics. Tonight, we're going to visit with Jason Danhof, Tony Van Lith, and Ed Fellers. And I've been looking forward to this, and I know you two, you have as well, Bill.
Yep, for sure. No, it's certainly people that have had a pretty big impact on the program in the last number of years now. So it's certainly good to be able to take the backstory out to the breeders here and just give them a little bit of a taste and flavour of what we're about at St. Jacobs. So
right, I think there's 26 bulls that have been in stud or coming to stud at St. Jacobs from these three young guys here. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Did you say young guys?
I did say young.
Young at heart, Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So Jason, you and I have known each other for, I don't know, 30 years?
25, I think, huh? Washington, Wilcox, 1998 or 9?
Yeah,
or 98, 99, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it must have been 98 because, well, yeah, sometime in there. Anyways, 25 years. Spent a lot of time together, even traveled to Europe some, doing the Triple H show and sale. Yeah, a lot of good times.
Yep. Homeland, Tony.
Jason has been my associate a couple times. We did the Guernseys in Louisville on short notice, and then you came with me for the Guernsey show at Madison, then a couple years later.
Yes, I actually have a Guernsey background. I quite appreciate the breed. It was a great start for me, and it was a big honor to help Brian do both shows. The Louisville show for the Guernseys is quite a nice show, always has been, and then Madison, of course, is the big show, and I think we did that in 2016 together. So that picture's a few years older.
Yep.
A little bit more hair for both of us, maybe. So, but yeah, great times.
And Jason, what are you doing now? What's your title and what? Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, actually, I didn't grow up on a farm. I just kind of we had hobby farm, I guess you could say, and showed Guernseys. It was a great start. Learned to do a lot of stuff on our own, and I went to UW-Madison and kind of did a lot of clipping on my way through school, and got like kind of handy at it. Met a lot of people, enjoyed it, and I think for the next 20 some years after I graduated from Madison, I went around the world. I think 16 different countries. Been to Australia at least half a dozen times. Dairy Week, a couple sales. Had a great time there. Met a lot of wonderful people. But yeah, I got to go to I think 16 different countries for work, all over South America, Europe, North America, U.S. of course. Yeah, so I did that for quite a while and made a lot of connections. And through that, I was able to, in the meantime, develop a herd of Holsteins. Had some success showing and kind of got into the genetic stuff as we started to realize there's more opportunity there for like larger scale use and breeding versus the show stuff. It's maybe more of a niche market for us. And so, yeah, we, my wife is Sherry. She's in one of the pictures up there. We developed kind of a group of Holsteins using some of our connections, do a lot of international marketing, try to sell a lot of embryos. We did a lot of work in Europe. I used to go to Europe 6-8 times a year. So I had a lot of connections there, and we started focusing on donors that they might appreciate more so than people in the U.S. appreciate. So nowadays we sell, we probably send close to 6, 7, maybe 800 embryos a year to Europe. A lot of sales. We implant some with partner herds there also. That's been quite a successful project for us. A lot of bulls that have turned out quite well on some different European bases, and some females that have been very successful as well. We still do a large TPI breeding program also, some with my in-laws and some on our own. So we've bought and sold some interesting heifers, cows over the years. Right now, we do quite a bit of work with that program, just trying to be, as forward thinking as we can, and try to stay ahead of the curve like everybody else. I guess it's a tough market. It's very difficult to navigate sometimes with who controls what as far as genetics nowadays, and that makes it very challenging, but can be also very rewarding when you are able to find the right matches and make something successful. So,
all right, that sounds good, Jason. We'll go through and we'll talk to the other two, and then we'll get back and get into some of the details. All right.
So, we've got Tony, obviously, yeah, got a lot more hair than most of the rest of the people on the panel here, but certainly someone that has, in the last few years really, contributed a lot of bulls to the St. Jacobs program, and yeah, I suppose, Tony, your story, yeah, started family farm and then, yeah, where to from there?
Yeah, so I grew up on my parents' Holstein herd. We got 5 robotic milkers, and I guess from a young age, well, we grew the herd rather rapidly, and there was a lot of work that needed to be done in terms of genetics, and that's kind of where I threw 4-H and everything else. Learned the rights and wrongs a little bit, and there was lots of work to be done in the herd, and that's where my passion for the genetics and pedigrees kind of started, and made a lot of progress over the last couple of years, which I'm pretty proud of. I still remember getting our first 2 very good cows, and I believe they were 3rd and 4th cowers. So, and that's out of a herd of 200 plus. So, I mean, that's not too special of a base to be beginning with, anyways.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun ride, improving that side of things, and then, so we have 2 larger, more commercial herds that I'm in charge of the genetics for everything there, and buying the semen and stuff like that. And then as of about a year and a half ago, my family purchased the Smithton herd, which is kind of globally known for its Allen Allison family. And that's where I'm at right now, and I'm living and running that operation, where I'm definitely focusing more on I guess type cattle, but using the other 2 herds as more recipient herds as well. As for I guess our genetics, I really like diversity. I like to be kind of well versed in every market. We're fleshing a couple animals in partnership over 3,000 TPI. There's one that's 3,000 TPI. She's or actually 3,045, I think now, and 2.75 on type with over 1,200 milk and almost a point in DPR. And those are kind of the heifers that I think, especially going forward, I know with linear choice coming up and everything, I think we'll be able to work with some of that stuff as well. And then I guess some of the main cow family, like the Lizzettes and LIZZO coming up there in the middle. You see picture of LIZZO, the Lambda son. Cow families for me. It's been something that's been kind of instilled in me by some local, I guess, mentors, you could say. Try to invest in that. The top calf on the right, that's a Ranger Red from the Roxy family. Granddaughter of, or great granddaughter of Y Whisper Silver Royalty, Excellent 94. So again, try to be diverse, and we got some reds, we got some fairly decent net merit stuff, some TPI, and then maybe some slower pace, more proven sire stacks. They don't have to be number 1 TPI for me personally. I still think there's a really great market for those balance bulls that are, under the 3 for stature type of thing, and they don't need to be giraffes in order to work around the world. So it's one thing. One thing for me, looking in the commercial side of things, it's very important for me is, it's never been a goal of mine. It's never been a goal of mine to go for that number 1 PTAT, because I know one thing, and that's 4.4 type comes with 4.4 stature, and that is a fairly linear increase in how those 2 work together. So working in that under 3 over 3, that's where I'd like to be. I mean, it's not always a success, but I think as you'll see, the couple bulls I've got in the St. Jacobs program for the most part meet that. I guess for me, it's not always doing what everybody else is always doing, and trying to do something that I believe in. And it's not always gonna interest everybody, but when everybody's doing vanilla, try to go for the chocolate dip, I guess. So that's
All right.
That's where I'm at. And yeah, just like Jason, I mean, export a lot of embryos around the world and really take a lot of joy in that, and sell some cattle. And it's just the passion for genetics is there, just like everybody here on the panel. So
All right. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
And then Ed Fellers. Ed is the seasoned veteran of us here tonight. Young at heart. And Ed, you've got an incredible history in the industry. You've managed some of the very top sales, top selling cows over $1 million. And here you are making genetics for Holstein breeders around the world. And you've been very successful at it. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your program that you've got going now?
Well, I'll start with saying thank you very much for having me, Brian. I appreciate this opportunity. And I was in the auction business for over 35 years and enjoyed every second of it, met a lot of wonderful people. And during that time, every now and then, my partners and I would syndicate some bulls in some of our auctions, and then I did some on my own as well, and had some success with bulls like Hilton and Bolton, who were both at ABS. And I believe they both produced 1 million units of semen, or sold 1 million units of semen, and then Atwood at Select Sires, and I really had a passion for it. And so when I retired about 7 years ago, it took about 3 months, and I figured out in a hurry that I didn't want to retire. You can only play so much golf and sit around so much. And so I decided to try to make some great bulls. And I found a partner in John Conrad at Estale Dairy, and he's a perfect partner for me. He's just a wonderful gentleman, a great dairyman, loves show cattle. He's got lots of recipients. He's a veterinarian. He's an embryologist. And so I contacted him, and then I contacted some people that I'd done business with, that had been my clients in the auction business for 35 years, and asked them if they would enter this venture. And we started buying frozen embryos from the best donors that we could find in North America. And bought some from Tony, who's on the panel tonight. And we started out and we'd buy 12 to 15 embryos, and we'd do from about 6 to 8 donors the first year. And then that expanded, and last year we were up to doing, we did 14 donors, some of them multiple times. And it's worked out quite well. In 7 years, the first bull that we genomic tested, the very first one, was crushable. And then from that time on, we put in, I think, 46 or 47 bulls into AI, with over 35 on open leases. And so, yeah, it's been very rewarding. Right now, I'm buying probably 200 embryos a year, and the business has evolved. But first, we started to sell our females and just went strictly for the males. And then we started having some success and getting some really good females. And so we've worked them back into the program. with another partner who does the flushing and everything, and then we work together in partnership, and that's really worked out well. And so it's almost like two separate businesses now. And so at this point, I'm having so much fun that I don't think I'll ever retire. They'll have to take me out of here in the box. And while my friends down here in Florida are playing golf and fantasy football, I'm trying to hit a hole-in-one bull or two. And I tell my friends I'm playing fantasy bull ball. And
I love it.
and it just takes up a lot of my time, but I love every second of it. So that's basically what I'm doing now.
All right. Well, Ed, welcome to the welcome to the webinar, and we're sure glad that we've got you here along with Jason and Tony. Really, and I'm looking forward to just discussing where we're going in the future with genetics. And but I do want to point out to all of our listeners, we've got an opportunity that you can win a $550 voucher to get product from St. Jacobs through ABS Australia. So you either have to click on that
Yep, on the link.
Or scan that QR code, and that'll take you so you can register to win the $550 voucher. Is that right, Bill?
Yep, that's right. And if people have trouble getting onto it or whatever, we will put it up again later on. Or if you're having tech issues, just reach out to us at the end of the webinar, and we'll
imagine
sure
that
you get in the draw.
dairyman that would have a tech issue. We've had plenty of those with this webinar.
Yeah,
tech issues and time issues. Yeah,
it's amazing we're all still here. But anyway, that's all good.
Well, let me talk to Jason just a little bit. You've shared with us a little bit about what you've been doing now with your business, and I've got a few bulls here that you've provided to St. Jacobs, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the cow family and a little bit about what you know about Diplomat.
Yeah, Diplomat is actually a bull that goes back to the frazzled you have pictured there. It's a family that we bought out of California from Curtis Vandenberg family. He at the time we hadn't used frazzle very much, and he was starting to turn a lot of really interesting genetic daughters, I thought. And so we were kind of looking at some, and there were a lot of frazzled selling at that point, and they were all bringing like really a lot of money, the ones I liked. And I searched through the list pretty long and hard, and I found this one. And I'd known Curtis a little bit through some mutual friends in California, and I started looking at her pedigree, and it goes back to a planet from the Butch Diaz herd in California. And I'd been out there years ago, and I think they milked 60 some planets at one point. And I think we pictured more than 30 of them in that herd. Everybody was going out there when Planet came out #1. Everybody went out there because he had all the milking planets. So that went back to that pedigree, and I remember how nice they were. Super uddered, really wet cows. They had a lot of flex to their leg, which I think we are starting to realize isn't a terrible thing.
Right.
So, yeah. And then anyway, I was able to get in contact with Curtis about the frazzled, and he told me a little bit more. He was super happy with her mother. A super shot. It was a super shot out of a mogul, then a planet. And the mogul was a really good cow. The super shot was still in his herd. I think she was scored 85 at the time, and later went up to 87 or 88 points. something like that. But he was really happy with the heifer, said she was a really nice heifer. So just kind of asked him what he'd want for her. And lo and behold, he said, well, just make me an offer. And I shot him a number and he took it just like that. And I thought, wow, I guess I overshot. It was plenty, but we got her home and she was a beautiful heifer. She was well grown. She was 8 months old. And within 3 or 4 days of being at my place, she came into heat and had a great reference heat for a flush. For first flush we ended up doing was to Renegade. And we ended up with all these great Renegades out of her. At the time, I think we had 3 or 4 of them that were over 2,900, which was a pretty good feed at the time. It's been a great family for us. So the line of Diplomat actually goes back to the reason I really bought the Frazzled was because we had bred a bull that ended up being the number 1 bull in the breed. Is CRI had purchased him from us and named him Game Changer. And we had some free agent semen coming from Game Changer, and I wanted to use it on Frazzleds. And that's the main reason I purchased this cow. So this heifer, I should say. We ended up doing her later to Game Changer, and we have a bunch of nice daughters out of her. A bunch of them went very good. I think we actually had an excellent one when we classified the other day. The Mother of Delight was our best one, highest genomic one, probably our nicest type heifer of the bunch. Her name was Game Changer Delight. And we did her to several different bulls, and Conway was one of them. He was pretty hot at the time. We ended up with a couple of really some high sons. I don't think Select ever took any of them, but we ended up with a lot of really nice, well-balanced sons out of her, and a couple nice daughters that we're actually still working. We just checked one of them pregnant today. We're going to probably go back and do IVF on her because she's quite a nice heifer, even though she's, I think, just short of 3,000 GTPI. Anyway, lo and behold, we had this, ended up with the bull that St. Jacobs calls Diplomat, and we had him. He wasn't super high for genomics, for GTPI or net merit, but super well-rounded, moderate stature, positive. I think he was positive DPR at the time, had some milk to him, just a really well-rounded proof. And it's the kind that just, they're out there, but no one really is attracted to them at some level because their GTPI, the final number, isn't high enough. But no one looks to what really made this bull. And a bull like this, I think, is the kind of bull that almost everybody can use. He's got enough milk, positive components. He's got some productive life, DPR right near break even, and the kind of linear that I think a lot of people, especially if you want a really nice, consistent herd of cows, it's the kind of linear that a lot of people can appreciate. Moderate size, has some strength. You got your legs right near zero, not too straight, not too set. Teat length a little bit towards the longer side. I think we can all agree that's an issue in the breed right now.
We need that.
Teat placement, not too close. It doesn't matter if you're on a carousel rotary parlor or a robotic milker. Teats are getting way too close. Like, we milk 1,100 cows, and I have to help milk every now and then, and there's nothing worse than rear teats that cross. It's impossible to keep the unit on them. And so I think a bull like this kind of, he's pretty reasonable calving ease. He's been from a great family for us. We've have a lot of great daughters. I think the Conways look pretty exceptional. We're milking half a dozen of them. I know I saw a bunch the other day. I think for what Select's put out here recently, they have some bulls that maybe have a higher GTPI and even higher type, but the Conways, I think, have been my favorite for what I've seen milking daughters of lately for the new releases in April. So I'm really excited about his parentage.
Yep.
Really excited about the linear, genomic linear he shows. To me, this is the kind of bull that a lot of people can use, just to breed a nice, consistent herd, end up with no problems, no somatic cell problems, cows that'll last long enough, get pregnant for you, and consistency in their linear type traits.
Yep. He's really the perfect linear choice bull. That new program that we started, it's almost a year now that we've had linear choice sires out there and available, and Diplomat is certainly one of those bulls that is to helping spread that word about making balanced cows. And at the same time, you made another Conway son.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
Yes. So this goes, Celebrate goes back to a family that we're been really excited about for, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago. Oakfield Corners had a sale, and they had a couple heifers in there that were selling that I was really interested in. And one of them was Super Sire 9882. And the other one was JC 2421. And I tried to bid on both of them that day. I think the Super Sire went for $75,000. And the thing that day, both of them had really, really good flush histories. And that's what really excited me that day, was to try and find some a donor that I knew would be able to flush. And they both had turned out a lot of embryos. So the Super Sire ended up bringing $75,000, which was, I think, 25 more than we were kind of thinking. And the JC came along a little while later, and JC was a bull that was pretty interesting to us because my in-laws had bred Iota, and Iota came along right along the time of genomics. So he got kind of missed as a sire of sons. And Iota was a top 5 TPI bull for quite a while. And so we were looking for some Iota sons. JC was the only one. That made him kind of interesting. In the combination, this heifer had made 20 some embryos her first flush. So she went through the ring, and we ended up purchasing her, brought her home, and she was really a nice heifer, really big, strong, ready to work. They had put a cedar in for us. And ironically enough, we'd had a group of Australians through, and they had looked at her, and I must have shown her to them. And, full circle, we had them come back 2 weeks ago to the farm, and the guy brought a lot of pictures he had taken of the heifer at my place the 2 or 3 days after we'd gotten her, and how he remembered exactly how excited I was when we first bought her and how I told him this was going to be the future. Well, long story short, we ended up breeding the JC. She made a lot of embryos, a lot of really great stuff for us. The picture up there is her best daughter. It was a Jedi. She was in the top 5 GTPI for over a year. We worked her extensively, had a lot of stuff out of her. And Celebrate goes back to a riveting daughter of hers. It was a really nice riveting daughter that we had. Unfortunately, we lost her and early in the first lactation. She was a beautiful heifer, would have been an easy VG 2-year-old. But I think we lost her just short of 100 days in milk. She was off to a good record. I actually just looked up her first couple tests. She was right near 100 pounds of milk her first couple tests. It done really well for us. But Celebrate goes back through that to this Jedi, and the Jedi was quite a cow. She did have a really large impact for us. Bred a former number 1 bull out of her, a lot of really consistent stuff. And in our herd, they really do well. We're really excited. Milk quite well. Just cows that are pretty easy to look at, easy to work with. It's been really good. Celebrate himself is another Conway son. As I mentioned before, we're pretty happy with our Conways. And again, the linear you really like to see. He's got the type traits. He's a little bit on the taller side, but still less than 2. Has the strength to go with it. Legs, rear leg set right around 0 again. Teat length right at 0. Not too close on rear teat placement, but exceptional udder traits. High, wide, good foreudder, decent cleft. and 1,000 pounds of milk and positive components. Just things that I think everybody can use as a baseline for breeding. The kind of commercial cattle that are really consistent and the kind that are easy to work with in any type of herd.
You bet. I appreciate that. I remember seeing Cashmere when she was a 2-year-old, and she was breathtaking.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
She was 88 point first score. I really think in a different, had life worked out different for her, she could have been quite a show cow too. I think she was we'd worked her quite a bit. She'd gotten a little heavier, but she looked beautiful second lactation. And unfortunately, she had some peritonitis that wouldn't go away and got the best of her. But she was really quite a cow. She's, for an index cow to have the kind of like show type she had, I used to travel quite a bit. You don't see it very often. So
you're right. The combination with top 5 GTPI cow and could take her to the show and win. It doesn't happen.
No, not too often. But yeah, she was a really special cow for us, and she's left a great legacy.
So Jason, So, a year and a half ago or so, I contacted you about buying some embryos for St. Jacobs to make more bulls for our linear choice program, because they just weren't very easy to find. And you sold me a number of embryos, so I'll let you tell a little bit about these bulls. Now these 4 bulls are all young, and so Daxon is the oldest one. I think he's about 9 months old now. And then Dixon and the other 2 bulls are about 6 months old now. So those bulls are now in stud, passed their health test, and we'll be making semen shortly. But all from that same family, from that goes back to that frazzled.
Yeah. The frazzled, like I mentioned, when we first bought her, we had bought her specifically to breed her to Game Changer. And she came ready. She was big, beautiful heifer, and Select had this bull called Renegade. They just started releasing semen on. He was something different. Alta Oak son. We had done well with Oak himself, so I thought, why not? We'll give it a shot. Ended up with 12 or 13 embryos the first flush. I think we ran close to 100% pregnancy. Unheard of, just dumb luck. We ended up with a bunch of really great Renegades out of her. And they've done well, scored well, milked well, look really good. So when you called, I think you were interested in the one Renegade was the highest GTPI Renegade there was, Daz. Yep. She went on to score excellent this year for us in her second lactation. And then Dara was a little bit higher type. Both of them had some daughters that we were going to be working age when you contacted me that had really, really strong type traits. They were mostly really high type. I think there was a moonshiner in there, and was a couple different moonshiners from the different Renegades, mostly. So we ended up doing a deal, found some free agent bulls that we could use that had the kind of linear traits you were looking for. And went ahead and flushed them. And I don't know if we ended up making about 20 embryos for you. And I think there's 4 sons out of that group that are going to be brought in. And I hadn't, because we didn't implant the embryos and I did not see the information. The first I saw it was the other day when you sent me this. And, it's amazing, like the kind of linears they have. It's, the same type of stuff we've been talking about, the kind of traits that, everybody can use, it has a positive or close to break even DPR, close to 1,000 pounds of milk on most of them, positive components, most of them not terrible tall, but yet solid type, really strong type. It's, the same type of stuff, some good calving ease numbers there. A couple of them are even, pushing 3,000 GTPI and 900 net merit. Pretty interesting stuff. So, side note, that Moonshiner Daisy of the dam of these 2 is just fresh. Looks really nice. I'm pretty happy with our Moonshiners so far. I think we have 4 or 5 milking. They're doing pretty well, and she's just fresh, like 3-4 days now.
Okay.
But look really nice. So yeah.
Great to hear. And honestly, the hardest thing about, this getting these embryos was to try to find a bull that we wanted to use that we could use without being conflicted with other studs contracts.
Yes, genetic control is quite an issue. It makes life difficult for everybody. I'm sure the other guys will agree. Like it's the biggest challenge out there. There's a lot of bulls you can use if you sign the right contract or you're in the right partnership agreement with the owners. But unfortunately, when you want to be in the embryo marketing business or maintain some level of control of your own genetics, it gets to be really challenging to figure out what you can use.
But you can find bulls
Absolutely
that are released and
yes
can make linear choice sires.
Yep. Yes, yeah, absolutely. You can't look towards the top of the list. Sometimes you have to sort through it a little better to see which ones are really interesting. And they're out there, and there are some of them free available. It's just it's not as easy as you'd like it to be, or people think it can be. So I think that's why there's so few of us left doing this.
Yep. No, I appreciate that, Jason. Pretty good insight on the cow family there, and some good background. We're looking forward to selling these bulls. So far, Diplomat and Celebrate have been doing really well for us. In fact, our linear choice program, when the brand managers get together a month before proofs, they have to allocate how much semen they want, and all of the linear choice bulls that are going to make semen or have been making semen and will make semen in the next 4 months, all of them are 100% allocated. Like, they'll sell every bit of semen that they make, and great for our new program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're really happy to have Celebrate and Diplomat leading the way there, and then we've got these Dixon, Daxon, Denison, and Dunlap in the wings ready to go to work. So
that's great.
Appreciate that, Jason.
Yeah, I just see a side note there. Brian Anderson just popped a comment up that came up on the screen. He was the guy that came and had seen her 8 years ago, and then he saw the JC the other day. She's 94 points now. The foundation for that C family that we have, like Celebrities family. And he was just here 2 weeks ago and saw her in the flesh. She's milking over a year now, 7th lactation, pregnant with her 8th calf. 94 points, looks awesome. I showed her to the group. We only looked at 4 or 5 cows that day, just one cow from every family that we kind of work with. And I chose to show her because she like, it's, amazing. 8 years old, foundation, 4, 5, 6 generations back, and she's still out there, working hard, looks great. It's still a cow that you can be super proud of. And for people that say like genomic cattle, like are maybe not the best type and stuff, or don't last, like we have cows like that out there that are, we're working 5, 6 generations off of them already, and they're still out there working. It's pretty amazing. But Brian was the guy that came and saw it, and he popped up the comment there on the webinar. That was awesome. I'm not, giving tours isn't my greatest pleasure anymore. It's difficult, but like that made my day. Like I would just as soon pass on almost every tour anymore. And like that honestly made my day. Like I was so excited about that, like that he had pictures that he showed me on his phone from when she was a heifer. It shows that at least one guy cared enough about what I was saying. Because we get a lot of them that would rather look at a manure pit outside or what kind of equipment we have. And that's not my thing. And sometimes I think I waste a lot of time. But then one guy like that can really make a difference in like your whole perspective of a tour. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. Glad that you got to reconnect.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Take her away, Bill.
Tony's turn under the microscope to tell his story. So get that. The next slide there. Brian. So I suppose, Showtime is a bull that we've had in the lineup here at St. Jacobs now, and it's probably, there must be a really cool backstory to this bull, because I know Brian and Tony got together, and that's how we ended up with the bull. But I suppose the backstory, Tony.
Yeah, so I've always been a big Shakira fan. We partner friend of mine and I, we bought Sister Shakira actually when she was just a 2-year-old, kind of before it was cool, so to say. And we've done really well on the Sister. So then when I noticed that Shakira had a Excalibur son, I contacted the Jacobs family, and I kind of quizzed them on what the plans were or whatever. And turns out Select Sires was testing, and I thought, we're probably not going to get them then. But they were waiting on genomics, and they said they'd let me know. And I think a couple of weeks later, I had noticed that he came up on CDN as a red carrier, meaning that he had genomics. And I don't think they had actually seen the numbers, because when I said, hey, he's a red carrier, so you have the numbers, they hadn't actually received it, I believe. And so they went looking, and it turns out Select Sires turned him down. They'd only tested him on the Canadian scale, which I thought was interesting, because Excalibur was a US TPI PTAT bull, and not much of a Canadian, just the way it works in the systems, I guess. So, and I knew Shakira had a Unix daughter that tested really high on PTAT, and basically I just went out on a limb and I bought Showtime with a friend of mine, John Weaver, and I said, hey, this bull, he could be pretty interesting. He might just be a bull that we sell to Mexico or something. And we tested him in the US, and he came out. He was, Brian, do you remember? He was over 3 on type, I remember. I think 2,500 TPI.
I was just interested. I just want him to be above parent average.
That's right. So
I was also a huge Shakira fan, and this was before she got famous.
Yep. Yeah, well, before she got real famous, I think she'd already been an intermediate champion, maybe at Madison, but she wasn't 97 yet, and she hadn't been grand. So, everything, the stars kind of aligned, and everything worked out. The numbers were nice, and he's really is an outcross. I mean, somebody pointed out online, I guess on CDN, you can do a future inbreeding sort. And granted, he's an Excalibur out of an Oak Caliber. He's different blood out of a Red Burst and then Regiment. So he's actually one of the lowest inbreeding bulls in the breed. So if you're looking,
he's under 8.
Yeah. So if you're looking for,
and there's only like 2 or 3 kind of influential bulls in the breed now that are under 8.
Yeah. So he's interesting in that sense, and his mom, they just posted that she's fresh again, and she's supposed to look better than ever, and that's what I've been hearing. Pierre Boulay, I was talking to him last week, and he says, you know what, she looks incredible, springing up, and there's other people that have seen her and they said the same. So I mean, this could be her biggest year yet, and the Showtime calves are impressive. They're wide, they're strong. Especially with, you can use him on all the unstoppables and the altitudes and some of that blood. The red breed really needs something that's going to throw a bit of oomph in him. And I think throwing Shakira on some of the reds is going to do that for us. So it'll be real interesting to see how Showtime goes. And it's been quite rewarding to see the calves pop up across the globe. It's been a pretty neat ride. So.
Yeah, there've been certainly some impressive calves out there, and some highly regarded cowmen out there have sort of said, he's perhaps one of the best rump bulls that's been in the breed for, I don't know, got a number of years, 20 years, 15 years. He's certainly, you want to drop those pins a fraction, get the thurls in the right place, and get that width there. He does a really nice job of so.
Absolutely,
pretty cool story.
The udders might be the best part yet. So it's quite interesting.
You gotta have something to look forward to. That's for sure. So
no, absolutely, and it's it's been fun. So
awesome. So Migos, next bull we've got in there. He's been a really popular bull for us out here in Australia. He certainly does a lot of things that breeders, dairymen are looking for at the moment. As Jason was saying earlier, around that teat placement, we don't want these super short teats, and we don't want this crazy extremes on stature. And he comes with the positive DPR as well. And a great cow family, impressive cow behind him. So.
Yeah, it's, how did you get in? Yeah, how did you get into this, Tony?
Well, I'll be really honest. When I was at home on the farm, I was the man in charge of hauling manure. And in other words, when you give me a tractor with GPS and a lot of time on my hands, a lot of research gets done, so to say. Research. And basically, I found Migos Dam, Brandtview Dock, Miami, and I just thought she was really, really neat. I think she was probably over 2,400 TPI at the time. Really nice milk, incredible linear to her, slope to the rump, and then being a king dock out of an 82-year-old dormant out of Meek, I messaged Daniel Brandt and I said, "Hey, can we buy? Is this heifer for sale?" And basically that's how it happened. I still remember I was hauling manure at my brother's place, and I just between loads I was texting him, and we got a deal struck. So that's how her name was Danielle at the time, actually, and I changed her name. I changed her name to Miami because I thought that's marketable. I like the marketing and even names and everything else. It's it's important to do that side of it too.
To have something that's memorable, right?
That's right. So then Miami, we'd flushed her for a guy in Germany, Nicky Nosbisch, and he wanted sex lambda eggs from her, and so it's kind of interesting. I mean, this is half his fault. So he bought. She made 4 number 1 embryos and 2 number 3s. Actually, like they were bad embryos, and I remember they basically told us to throw those eggs out because I think they were like day 5 embryos or something, like really, really late, release. So they said there's almost no point. But my partner Andrew Vanderspeck, he implanted the eggs, and we got 2 pregnancies on the C's. So it was quite a good deal. And then you know what? Anybody else would be pissed off with a sex semen bull calf, but guess what? That was Migos. So
awesome.
It worked out. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And I just sent Brian a picture of Migos' full sister, Fresh. She got an incredible udder, and she actually had a Rolex heifer calf. So it's kind of full circle and pretty interesting to be able to use 2 generations of Valiant bulls, top and bottom, or breeding, I should say. So yeah, Migos. Migos. Actually, I looked up while we were waiting on our daylight savings here. On our little break, our 2-hour hiatus, I did some research, and Migos is actually the highest DPR lambda son out there at 1.3, positive 1.3, and he's very, very short stature, and like Bill said, nice linear on him. So he's and actually last week we sold his full sister in a sale here at the calves for a cause, and she brought $7,900 to September calf. Honestly, if I've ever wanted to not sell a heifer after putting her in a sale, it was her. Like we we'd picked her. Pierre Boulay and Jeff Stevens were out, and when we picked them, we had 3 full sisters, and I thought, she's a nice square heifer, and just off milk, long hair on them, and she got clipped off, and boy, did she ever look good. And I thought, why are we selling this heifer? But at least she brought pretty good money, and we got the 2 full sisters dead, and the 1 fresh actually, so I guess 3. And then this year again, we sold embryos to the UK out of her, and after flushing her, she's actually pregnant first service again, Miami, to sex drop box. So we're quite excited to see her fresh again.
So I saw her there in November when I visited at the time of the Royal, and that is one dairy machine.
She sure is.
What kind of a record is she making?
Oh boy, now you're tricking me. I'd have to check that, but no, she's a really, really milky. And,
she was 75 kilos a day or something when I saw her. It was
right.
She's a milk wagon.
Yeah, she sure is. Yeah. Sometimes maybe it hurts her a bit milking that hard, but I think later lactation she gets a bit more cover on her, and it's good. So it's and actually, it's real funny how genetics work. Like the Lambda cross, I believe the parent average was maybe -1 on DPR, and then Migos came back 2.3 points over PA for DPR, and it's I'll never understand I'll never understand genetics. No, it's nice when it goes the way you want it to, but anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's been neat. We got some pregnancies here, and we're excited about this family, and maybe we can make another bull down the line. I mean, we got a Tropic out of Miami that's got some West Coast Lambeau calves, and there's one that's 2,900 TPI and 2.75 on type. Now my kind of thinking on that was, you're it's a little different. Lambeau, Tropic, King Doc. I mean, you're getting something different. No Lambda blood there, so we'll see what we can create for the next generation there. So
sounds good.
Right. So Rolex. Now Brian, likes to tell the story of how you ended up with Rolex and how his fingerprints are all over the happenings and all. But perhaps before you get into that story a little, I remember seeing pictures of the Roxette cow, obviously on her first lactation, and then when this picture that we've got on the screen now came out, just a cow that's really matured and developed on, and I would dare I say it, a very good investment.
You know what? I guess per dollar spent, she's done all right. So
$850.
No. And again, she had a number for a name when I bought her, Brian. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember what her number was.
I
just remember that the number at the dollar sign wasn't very big.
That's right. Yeah, it was the Heart of the Wheel sale.
Yep, my county sale. And I announced from the box that I wanted to buy a bull from this heifer, and nobody else bid.
Nobody else bid. No, I'd had Tim Zimba on the phone for Roxette, and at the time, I mean, I didn't have much funds, but I think I told him to go about 4 or 5 times over what I paid for. So it was seemed like a good idea. So she was a huge udder composite heifer at the time, and a little different pedigree, but a huge pedigree behind her. Dam was already 91 points to the Monterey. And then the Roxys, I mean, that's one family that I'll always have a sweet spot for, or a soft spot, I should say. And I bought Roxette that day and flushed her a couple times as a heifer. And then actually, the first flush I did was to Aurora Mitchell, and she made 3 embryos. And I had waited till the fall to put them in because I thought this mating is just absolutely perfect. It's a slam dunk cross. And then second flush was to Clay Duplo, and the third flush was to Kumbuna Zippet Moran, the Australian boy. And I got 3 Morans milking out of her here, and all 3 are really, really nice cows. One's 86, one's 85, and one's 83. So her first daughters are really quite impressive. And the Duplos, maybe, at the time that made sense, but maybe not a bull that worked out. And then I waited to put those 3 Mitchell eggs until the fall, and none of them caught. So would you believe that? And then having as much faith, I guess, in that cross as I did, I had Roxette bred to Mitchell, and she had a bull calf. And I mean, there was another stud interested, but it only seemed right that Brian would get Rolex. So
Gosh, I sure appreciate that.
It's been fun. And, he's an A2, and he's got great milk to him, and, positive on teat length and great teat placement, as Jason was saying earlier too. And, he's got no King Doc, Tropic, Lambda, or Doorman. And I think, that makes him pretty interesting. And his sire Mitchell is looking like a real interesting bull over in Europe. I mean, the daughters are quite impressive. And this is one of his only sons out there. So, and with that, the highest type one, unless there's one that came up higher since. But as far as I know, he's the highest type Mitchell son.
Yeah,
I think he's the only Mitchell son to use. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So
we've got a lot of breeders out here that are probably 5-6 weeks away from calves on the ground, and I've had some really good results. People getting pregnancies and that with him as well. He seems to be a good fertile sort of option out there. So really excited to see them. Calves on the ground in a few weeks' time. So
actually, I guess as a bred effort, I sold half of Roxette because our home farm is a closed herd, so I needed a spot to calve her. And Elias Clacy of FIPRO Farms bought half, and that's where she had Rolex. And props to him for raising him up and doing everything right in that sense. And actually, as a 2-year-old, the young fella here at the bottom, Ed Fellers, bought 15 embryos by Pete Jagger out of Roxette. So, and I think he'll tell you he's got some likely interesting pregnancies from a daughter coming. So
that we do.
All right.
Yeah,
he's a dangerous man, that Ed. So.
Rightio, and this is a new bull. Just I think he's been in starting on collection now, but LIZZO, another Lambda son out of an 86-point sidekick who looks really nice. This is a high type bull with a lot of milk. Pretty exciting, and I suppose there seems to be a good story on the other 3. There's probably a good story behind this one too, I'd imagine. So,
well, we're all about stories, aren't we, Brian? So
we are.
It's So LIZZO actually, his grandmother we purchased in one of the first cattle club sales from our favorite, and again, that was kind of the early days, and didn't have much money. We didn't spend much money on her, but she flushed like a chicken, and we sold embryos everywhere around the world. There's an 87.2 2-year-old crushable in the UK out of her. Embryos went to Japan from the King Doc, and then actually there was 5 sex sidekick eggs. 4 number 1s went to the US, and I believe it was a B or a C embryo, and that is how we got LIZZO's mother. So it was pretty lucky to get her. And actually, she had nice numbers for a sidekick, but it wasn't anything crazy. And some days you have to get that perfect mating in your mind, and then you think, all right, we have to do it. And other than that, maybe she wouldn't have even been a heifer too flush. But I said to my partner, I said, you know what? I got my hands on some conventional Lambda. Lambda's worked pretty good for us before, and I think it's honestly the absolute perfect cross on side pot, the dam, the 86-year-old sidekick. I mean, it was pretty cool. We had, I think, 10 embryos, 6 pregnancies, 3 heifers, 3 bulls, and of the 3 bulls, 2 of them went to AI. And then we sold a heifer in a sale here locally for pretty good money, and then actually Lizzo's full sister, she's carrying a pretty cool pregnancy that I'm not going to reveal too many secrets just yet, but we'll see what we can make from her. And
you don't want Ed to jump in and
no, I gotta keep my cards a little closer. You know, it's basically it's a hard to find bull, and nobody has semen. So I mean, it's we'll see what she makes, but she's a beautiful heifer. So yeah, it's been cool, and we flushed this Jagger sister. We get pregnancies coming from her, and then she's pregnant to Clay Noxor. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what the next generation brings on this family. Yeah, actually, side pot, she's pregnant. She's due back. She looks fantastic. They actually the classifier looked at her pretty closely for max score 87, and I think Andrew said he looked for about 10 minutes and wasn't quite there, but yeah, I mean, in Canada, 87 points is quite a feat. So she's quite a nice young cow, and I expect her to be 88 points on her second calf if everything goes well. So just an incredible udder, and you know, dairy strength throughout her, incredible rump, strong loin. And the cool thing with Lizzo, I mean, he's under 3 on stature, but he's he's over 3 on udder composite, and that's one thing Brian and I have discussed. If the udder composite is higher than the stature, or right at what the stature is, then we got a good bull. So and actually Lizzo's the number 3 type lambda son in the world, and he's positive teat length. He's A2. He's BB. I think it's a bull. It's got a lot of home he's got a home in a lot of different markets, and he went into stud a little older, Brian, but I had faith in Lizzo. I'd say he's the best looking bull we've bred to date. Like, he's just like such a stylish. She's long and chest width. I mean, Brian came to look
that he got on the truck, right?
What's that? Sorry.
That's the day that he got on the truck. That picture there, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look in between his legs, he's got about 2 feet in between his front legs. I mean, he's just a tank, and long and dairy, and you know, great set of feet and legs on him. I think if we were still showing bulls here at the Royal Winter Fair, we might have to take him down. So that's
yeah,
he's great looking bull, and
he was pretty impressive, and that is. Yeah, he's an impressive bull, no doubt.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool to have Brian on the farm, and he's pretty neat, especially the positive teat length for a lambda son as well. I mean, and I'm a real big believer in a sire stack, the lambda sidekick king doc. It's a 3-way cross that, you know, I think makes a lot of sense on paper as well as in real life. So. And then the cow family speaks for itself too. I mean, ID Winbrook, Lindsay. I mean, you got Winter Big, Oldwin Lotto, all those great Lydia cows.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see how Lizzo goes, but he's one of the more exciting ones we've bred to date. So
yeah, really good to have a lambda son that doesn't have short teats. That's also A2. Like, just
absolutely.
Not very easy to get that.
Unheard
Thanks,
of,
Tony.
So. No problem. Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And Mr. Fellers,
Yes,
these
sir.
are just these are most of the bulls that we've been selling semen on for the last 6 years. You said you started buying some embryos 7 years ago, shortly after you unretired. And I believe Belmont was the first bull that we bought from you.
That's right.
Yeah, so some very influential bulls for us, including, that bottom row is pretty heavy hitters with Dazzle and High Hope. Dazzle is the number 3 udder composite bull that's available in the world. His brother High Hope is the number 1 udder composite bull. Winner Circle P, a Fitter's Choice son, is the highest type, and I believe the highest udder composite polled bull that's available. And then, of course, Fitter's Choice is he's been out for 3 years now, and he's still number 2 for PTAT. So, Ed, tell us how you do it.
Well, I'm I'm kind of the odd guy out in this group of panelists. They're a lot younger than I am, and they travel the world and are in it every day. I'm not on Facebook. When I did retire from the auction business, I wanted to stay home, but I wanted to do something that would keep me active and be fun. And so basically, I'm a numbers guy. I mean, I map out. I find the donors. I get them from being on the phone. I work the phone. I work the lists on the internet. I try to find exactly what I'm looking for in a donor, and then try to find the right sire and spend a lot of time choosing that sire. And so that's basically what I do. And I the dam of Dazzle and High Hope and Charmer that are at ABS St. Jacobs. What drew my attention to her was her high udder composite. She was 402 on udder composite, and I think she was 3 in the breed when I first contracted her. And she was also a unicorn in that she was 2.1 plus on DPR back when there weren't very many. And also great on somatic cell and all the health traits, and still good on type. And so I used some high type sires on her, and Alley-Oop was the first, and that cross really did work. And we got a 2-1 DPR, which I thought was impossible. I was hoping to get plus, and 3.5 type and almost 3.5 udders, and low stature. And he's just a bull that I think a lot of people can use. And his dam has turned out to be, she's turned out to be quite a cow. She went 87 with an excellent udder as a 2-year-old. And she's due in April. And I'm told by Tyler Carter that she should be an easy excellent. And she's got a 50 rear udder as a 2-year-old. And I don't think rear udder height. And I don't think there's too many of those that are getting made 50 with their first calf. And it's 11 generations of excellent. And then High Hope follows in with the great udders and type. And I think he's one of the highest combined type udder and foot and leg bull in the breed. And then you add that he's plus 0.8 on DPR and A2 and BB and low somatic cell count. He brings a lot to the table. I think he's going to sire some really great type. The last bull that I just recently sent to Brian is Lustrous PP son. And I had some early semen because that was one of our syndicate bulls that we did from embryos that we bought. And this bull, I'm quite excited about him. I hope Brian is. He's A2, BB, and polled, and 347 on udders, and 324 on type, and 19 on calving ease, and low somatic cell, and I really like the stature 1.47 for that much type. And he's one of very few bulls over 2750 GTPI and 3.34 type and 345 udders. And he's also, 1.9 for sire calving. So he covers a lot of bases. And
He really does. Yep.
And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for balance. And I tried to breed. I went for high GTPI. I tried that, and that didn't work for me. I was a failure in that. There was just too many people doing it, and the AI companies had an advantage with getting the early semen, and so I concentrated on type and tried to get another Atwood, and that's how I was fortunate enough to get Fitter's Choice and Crushable, and so I've kind of gone that avenue. But you've got to be willing to change in this industry, and you've got to be able to change fast, because you've got to produce what the market demands, and it's a fast changing industry. And so I'm looking for high GTPI, high type, udders, health traits, the whole ball of wax. And so any others you want me to talk about, Brian?
Yeah, a little bit about Top Gun. Top Gun should be starting to make semen here within a month. DJ Hano's son from a beautiful daughter of Tropic.
Yeah, did you change his name to Top Gun from Top Gunner?
Yeah. ABS already had a Top Gunner, so they accepted Top Gun. That was the closest I could get.
That's all right. It was a pretty good movie, and we'll hope he's a pretty good bull.
Yep.
Well, I'll say this. His dam, Andrew King, is a Holstein Fieldman out west, and he's been around a while too. And he said I could quote him that she is one of the best cows that he's been around in his lifetime. She gets scored pretty soon, and I think that from other people that I've talked to, I think she's got a chance to be 89, 2-year-old with an excellent mammary. I've been told that she's maybe not born right and didn't calve right, but she's the top 5 Madison kind. From some pretty knowledgeable people have told me that. And I know Andrew believes that she's the kind of cow that's really going to create a lot of interest when people see her. If she does get to Madison as a 3 or 4-year-old, there'll be a lot of interest created, because she's a really, really special young cow.
Yeah, it's great to see. And again, a bull that, has some balance to its proof with some good components. Positive.
He's 28, 58
and, to go along with all that type.
Yeah, what you really like about him is 28, 58 GTPI and over 3 points on type, and 1.7 DPR and 2 points on fertility index. So he brings some nice things to the table.
Right. I'm pretty sure people are going to be able to make some beautiful daughters with him.
I should. You mentioned Fitter's Choice, and he's been amazing. I think he was number 1 for like 3 or 4 summaries, and now he's still number 2 after several years, and he of course is out of the great Seamers family. But I want to talk about Winter's Circle too. He's A2. You mentioned him. He's polled. His mother went very good in Canada at Jimmy Perot's, and she's 86 in the udder, and 85 in foot and legs, and 87 in rump. And the best thing about her is her udder. Jimmy said that she has a wicked udder, and I guess that means good. When I grew up, bad was bad and wicked was wicked. But he said her udder is wicked, and he thinks that she can be an excellent cow with maturity. So,
all right. No, those are some pretty influential bulls. We could spend another hour talking about, Tractor and Risque and Merlin and all these other bulls that have sold well for us. But we're going to really focus, on High Hope and Dazzle, because those are the two of the most popular bulls in Australia right now. And Ed, we sure appreciate I appreciate the relationship that you and I have, and being able to work with you as well as we have here in the last 6 years. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian. It's a mutual feeling, I guarantee you.
Well, hey, and you know what else is cool, or kind of a not cool for me, but I was $50 off owning High Hope and Dazzle's Dam.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Tony.
You know what happened? I was on the phone with Eric Westendorp, and I was in, and then they upped the bid by $50, and then they dropped a hammer like that because I wasn't done yet. And then I tried to buy. I called up Carter's the next day, or maybe 2 days later. I said, "Hey, do you want to sell this heifer?" And they said a fella by the name of Ed Fellers had just contracted her for something like 30 embryos, and they were probably going to pass.
So Tony, your dealings with Ed goes really deep here.
Oh yeah.
Not only does he buy embryos from you and win.
Even Brian, even if he would have, even if he'd have bought her, I'd have talked to you about some embryos.
Yeah,
that's right.
And by the way, while we're talking about Tony and embryos, I bought some embryos out of his muffin cow, and they've turned out to be great. I got a couple bulls in AI, and I got a magnificent heifer by Rubles that came from embryos from Tony, and that heifer made, before she was 14 months old, she made over 100 embryos for us. And we got her bred, gave her a little break. We've already got like 15 more. And today she had 40 oocytes, Tony. And
yeah, rub it in.
Yeah. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah.
And by the way, that heifer is, at one time when she first got her genomics, she was the #1 GLPI polled red heifer in Canada and the #1 GTPI polled red heifer in the US. So she's a pretty amazing heifer. We're so excited. We've used all different kinds of bulls on her, red, polled, homozygous polled. So
I do remember, I think this was the Rubles red semen that I got in special from
you.
Europe.
You are correct on that. You're correct. No bulls were made though.
You can blame Tony for not getting me a bull.
Yeah. And actually, off the lower grade embryos, we have a Rubles that's the #2 TPI and #2 net mare Rubles in the world. So she's not red, but she's polled and red carrier, and we got some pregnancies coming off her. So we'll see if we can beat Ed at some point here yet.
I'm sure you will.
I don't know. It's not beating. I think there's room for us all.
There you go. Yep.
That's right.
But you're at a disadvantage because his red Rubles has already got like 120 pregnancies or something. So
probably. Yeah, knowing his lucky.
I'm not
to go
that
100%. He's pretty lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the removers born yet or no?
No, not yet.
Okay. We got some due in the next month from Sex Semen, I believe. So we'll see what pops out of Old Muffin.
So are there folks online that would like to ask him some questions, and you can pop them in the comments there, or if you happen to know Bill Morgan's phone number, you can just text him.
Yeah. That's good. And yeah, you've got up obviously the chance to go in the draw for the voucher there. So certainly, yeah, everyone these days should be comfortable scanning QR codes or whatever. But certainly, tech issues, just give us a ring. I suppose about this point, we really should be thanking Tony and Jason and Ed. It's probably getting close to midnight over there for you guys. I can tell you that Thursday's a magnificent day. We've done half of it already, and it's a ripping good day. So you got something to look forward to. Really, really appreciate your time. It's great to be able to talk to passionate cow people and hear their stories and understand a little bit more of why they do what they do, and what we can probably look forward to from your programs in the future. I think it's really exciting, and certainly appreciate your time, and I'm sure everyone else in Australia has been able to learn a lot. And to Brian as well, he's always been willing to jump in, and I don't know, I tend to be the ideas man and say, hey, let's do one of these embryos. You guys got me confused now. Webinars, and Brian jumps in and does all the hard work, putting together the presentations and lining up our speakers and all. So thanks very much, and I think it's been a great afternoon. You.
You're welcome, Bill. And again, I'd also like to thank Tony, Jason, and Ed for sticking with us tonight. I know it's about 11:30 in the evening for Tony and Ed, and 10:30 for Jason and I here in the Midwest. But sure appreciate you sticking with us and sharing a little bit of your story, because that we get to World Dairy Expo, we come for the cows, but we keep coming for the people. And you guys are part of the reason I do this. I love the people in this industry, and you three are the four of you, Bill and Tony and Jason and Ed. God, I really appreciate the way you run your business and the way we work together. And I appreciate that. Thank you much.
Likewise, Brian. Likewise. Yep. It's been a great run, and I think all three of us hope to do lots more business in the future. So,
yeah, I hope so too.
I do too. I'll call you tomorrow on a bull.
Is that 2.85 on type?
Yeah. Well, hey, and Ed will figure out a way that he's number one, Brian.
You are right. But actually, the bull that he is talking about, he is a unicorn.
That's right. Well,
for a homozygous polled bull, like there's not many like him. Well, there's none like him. He's the highest type, highest udder, over 2,800 TPI. Yeah, you might see him with a 94 code.
It sounds like Ed will be able to afford another round of golf.
Or to buy more embryos from Tony. Yep.
That's right. Well, the donor I sent you, Brian, I'm sure Ed will be all over anyways. That heifer, she's 298 type. 298 type. She's under 2.5 stature. She's over 3,000 TPI, 0.9 of DPR. this is right up Ed's alley. So we'll see. We'll see. And actually, while we were waiting on our 2 hours here, I bought the mother of A2P2 because I was bored. So here we go.
Seriously?
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what we can do with her, I guess, too. Yet. So you guys are bad influence.
Multitasking?
I guess something like that, or just I don't know, impulsive maybe. Might be it.
Tony, how old is she now?
Oh, she's getting up there, but she's made like over 50,000 kilo in 2 lactations. Like she's an absolute milk wagon. So we'll try to make some embryos from her and maybe sell some of those around. And I'm sure Luster P would be a logical cross on her, granted A2P2. And we got our first fresh one, and she looks incredible. So if that bull turns out the way he should, then this could be a good purchase. So we'll see. So
yep.
It's a good thing that we messed up the times, Bill. So otherwise, maybe we.
It was all part of the plan. All part of the plan.
That's right. Yeah. So